She was dismissed the very moment she stepped into the Ashbourne estate where the reading of the will was about to begin. Dressed in an old gray linen dress with a faded green cardigan draped loosely over her shoulders and simple flat shoes that barely made a sound, Camille Johnson might as well have been invisible. The lavish room was filled with heirs clad in silks, designer suits, and glittering diamonds, their eyes sharp with judgment, their smiles polite but cutting. They glanced at her once, then looked away as though she were nothing more than the help who had wandered in by mistake. The first blow came from a man in a garish yellow tie, standing tall near the fireplace, half laughing, half sneering. "Who let the maid in?" he said, loud enough to echo across the grand hall. His name was Thomas Ashbourne, Jr., and he made no effort to conceal the amusement dripping from his voice. A young woman nearby, her lips painted the color of blood and her eyes as frigid as ice, leaned into her friend's ear and whispered, probably some ex-girlfriend who couldn't let go, here to stake her claim. Camille remained motionless at the back of the room, one hand resting lightly on the strap of her faded shoulder bag. She didn't respond, didn't flinch. She didn't utter a single word in defense. To the rest of the room, she was nothing but a stranger, an afterthought, an interloper standing on sacred ground. But they were wrong. They couldn't have been more wrong. Because the quiet woman standing so calmly amid their sneers and contempt was not just some nameless outsider. Camille Johnson was the lawful wife of the late Richard Ashbourne, the very man whose fortune they were all so eager to divide among themselves. And the reading of this will was no mere formality. It was a trap. A test. One meticulously planned by Richard and Camille herself long before he drew his last breath. Camille's cardigan slid slightly off her shoulder as she moved further into the room, the fabric seeming to sense her displacement among the glitter and gold of the space. No one offered a greeting. No one acknowledged her presence as anything but a mistake. The eyes that turned toward her were sharp as daggers, cold and unapologetic. Henry Whitlock, leaning against the stone mantel with a flute of champagne, narrowed his eyes at her and smirked. Across the room, his sister Victoria Whitlock adjusted the strap of her blood-red dress, then leaned into her brother and murmured sweetly, "The cleaning lady must have lost her way." From the corner of the room, social media darling Madison Clark raised her phone discreetly, snapping a quick photo of Camille before turning to her companion, Elise Porter, and snickering. "Look at that outfit. Total disaster. She looks like an extra in some bargain bin indie film." The laughter drifted through the room, light but laced with venom. Camille didn't break stride. Her grip on the strap of her old bag tightened, but her steps remained steady as she walked deeper into the hall, her worn shoes silent against the polished marble floor. The Ashbourne estate sparkled that day, every chandelier shimmering, every gemstone flashing beneath the light of a perfect April morning. Yet no reflection touched Camille's steady, dark brown eyes. They saw only her faded dress, her simple shoes, her quiet dignity, and judged her unworthy. What they didn't see was the storm she carried inside. A storm waiting for the right moment to tear through their perfect world. Thomas, still standing proudly near the fireplace, let out another loud scoff. "Seriously, who let her in? This isn't a soup kitchen." Victoria, ever the venomous echo to her brother's lead, swirled her glass of champagne and added with a soft, malicious smile, "Maybe she heard we were rich and thought she'd take her chances." The giggles from their corner spread like ripples in water. Madison, the self-appointed queen of online drama, couldn't resist. She zoomed in on Camille, typed a quick, biting caption onto the photo, found Richard's long-lost charity case, and sent it live to her millions of followers. The likes began to pile up within seconds. Elise, never one to miss out on the cruelty, pretended to drop her napkin as she walked past Camille, muttering just loud enough to be heard, "Bet she packed a lunch. Gotta eat before begging, right?" It went on like that, snide remarks, pointed fingers, laughter disguised as casual conversation. But Camille stood firm, never lowering her gaze, never retreating, only tightening her grip on her bag. Trevor Maddox, a distant cousin who fancied himself charming but was anything but, nudged the man beside him and nodded toward Camille. "Check this out. Looks like Richie's latest charity project showed up to collect." The laughter swelled again, ugly and contagious. Each person added their own little cruelty, each word another drop of poison in the air. But none of them asked who she was. None of them cared. Gerald Bennett, a longtime business associate of the Ashbourne family, stepped toward Camille with slow, deliberate arrogance, his voice loud and patronizing. "You don't belong here. This isn't the place for people like you. At his side, his wife Patricia, draped in emeralds and silk, offered a smile as cold as frost. That dress, that bag, that look. Richard never would have associated with someone like you. Trevor gestured broadly toward the kitchen at the back of the hall. Sweetheart, the service entrance is that way. The laughter didn't roar, it hissed, a quiet, insidious sound that filled the room like toxic gas. Phones buzzed and flashed, more photos snapped, more videos captured. Madison uploaded a clip of Camille standing alone beneath the chandelier, captioning it, "When the charity case crashes the will reading." Their comments stacked up quickly. Wrong event, sweetheart. Thrift store queen doesn't get a seat at the table. Security really dropped the ball. But Camille didn't flinch. She didn't move an inch. The venom escalated. Elise scribbled the words charity case on a cocktail napkin with a Sharpie and, with the sleight of hand of a practiced bully, slipped it into the strap of Camille's bag. Madison caught it all on video, giggling as she posted the footage with a laughing emoji and a caption that read, "Donations accepted at the door." It didn't take long for the video to go viral. Notifications buzzed nonstop, the cruel spectacle unfolding in real time for thousands to see. And still, Camille stood silent. The laughter continued, the cruelty deepening with every minute. Madison leaned toward Elise, whispering, "She really thinks staying quiet will save her? Poor thing. Wait until Grayson gets here. He'll toss her out on her ass." But Camille didn't break. She didn't argue. She didn't plead. She waited. The grand door at the far end of the hall creaked open, silencing the room at once. Arthur Grayson, the Ashbourne family attorney, stepped in carrying a worn leather briefcase. The red wax seal of the estate's crest clear on the envelope inside. The weight of the room shifted immediately. Phones were tucked away. Laughter hushed. Posture straightened. Everyone turned their greedy, hungry eyes toward Grayson and the prize he carried. No one looked at Camille. But Grayson's gaze passed briefly over her, just a flicker, quick enough to miss, but enough to ignite a flicker of unease. The will was read, and with each line, the greedy anticipation in the room grew hotter. Until the moment came. "All assets," Grayson read, "shall be transferred to my lawful wife, Camille Johnson." The room shattered into chaos. Thomas's jaw dropped. Victoria let out an audible gasp. Madison's phone clattered to the floor, screen cracked. Elise stumbled back a step, pale as milk. Gerald and Patricia froze in place, eyes wide, mouth slack. But Camille didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Grayson methodically laid out the evidence, the marriage certificate dated 7 years prior, wedding photographs, joint bank account records, handwritten letters from Richard, all authenticated. And finally, a video of the modest wedding ceremony itself with 2 witnesses present. The proof was irrefutable. And the woman they had mocked, dismissed, and tried to shame out of the room now stood as the rightful heir to everything they thought was theirs. The storm they thought they were prepared to weather had only just begun.